The family of a football player who killed multiple people in 2021 before killing himself is now suing the athlete's former university. Philip Adams suffered from stage 2 CTE. That's a form of brain damage. Now, Adams was a former Atlanta Falcon.
Tonight, we're looking into the lawsuit filed against South Carolina State University. Atlanta News First reporter Yasmina Alston is in Atlanta and has all the details laid out for us. Yasmina?
Filed by Adams' father, the lawsuit claims that South Carolina State University didn't properly treat Adams' head injury or teach him about the long-term impacts of head trauma. In the lawsuit filed last month, former Atlanta Falcons player Philip Adams' family outlines their claims that his alma mater did not properly care for their son, ultimately leading to his death. In 2021, investigators say Adams killed 6 people and then himself in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Dr. Robert Leslie, his wife Barbara, and their young grandchildren shot to death in the back of their home. Out front, 2 technicians were also killed. According to the lawsuit, Adams was diagnosed with stage 2 CTE, a degenerative disease that has affected a number of pro athletes. CTE has been shown to cause violent mood swings and other cognitive disorders. The suit continues to say South Carolina State University failed to educate Adams of concussion and head trauma in collegiate football. The lawsuit alleges the university failed to properly train its employees on identifying, evaluating, and properly treating Adams. CTE has been a conversation. In 2021, doctors shared the odds of developing the disease if you play football.
We have now studied the brains of 700 deceased football players, and we found that their odds of developing CTE go up about 30% per year they play.
And we did reach out to the university for a comment about the lawsuit. We're waiting to hear back. In Atlanta, Yasmina Alston, Atlanta News First.